Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Freed on Business. This is episode 867. I want to welcome everybody. I want to remind you we're streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. Look for me at Freed on Business or at Jim Freed. And today we're going to talk about what's going on in the retail market in Florida and why I believe that's the place to put your money in today's real estate development environment. Florida's retail market is one of the strongest performing sectors in the U.S. commercial real estate market now, but it's evolving quickly and it's evolving differently in different places. I was on the Florida Statewide Government Affairs Committee for the ICSC and been involved in shopping centers for 30, 40 years. I've got friends at all the big retailers, all the big retail developers. And I can tell you that it used to be that retail would be a family business. Now it's been consolidated and it's pretty much mostly institutional. I want to thank our friends who retail automobiles at Warren Henry Automotive. Thanks to Larry, Eric, Warren, and the rest of the team at Warren Henry. They've been our sponsors for 15, 16, probably even 17 years now at this point. Thank you to our friends at Warren Henry. Thank you so much. And now back to the show. And what we're going to talk about, like I said, is the retail development business. Here in South Florida, most people see the most noticeable retail development trends as being ground floor mixed-use retail under apartment or condo buildings, mostly apartment. Occasionally, they're in large, big retail centers. And the format that I worked on most recently, I funded the apartments behind a mixed-use development where the front pads were all freestanding triple net pads that were developed by my good friend John Samuel. Behind that, the estate companies built a whole bunch of apartments, and these were in response to an RFP that Baptist Hospital South and Homestead made. This is what's getting done in South Florida. Mixed use, combined use, targeting a specific need. Where can you still build greenfield retail? Well, that's upstate. That's in Tampa. In Tampa, I'm working on a new power center development. We're capitalizing it with both debt and equity. My friends have been working on this for many years. They finally got the large anchor tenant to kick it all off. Then, of course, as soon as that happened, all the rest of the anchor tenants fell in line. And you've got a bunch of smaller tenants as well as a hotel looking to go into the development. It's surrounded by apartments and townhomes, and it's on the four quadrant. It's on one of the four quadrants on an intersection. Some of the other inhabitants of the quadrants are healthcare related, and of course, grocery and smaller retail tenant related. It's a tremendous retail opportunity. And why is retail so great here in Florida? Well, vacancy rates in Florida are basically below 4%. The shakeout that came with the great internet expansion is kind of stabilized. The people that couldn't make it, they're gone. The people that are here, they want to be in bricks and mortar retail. The inventory is about 1.3 billion square feet. That's about 11% of all U.S. retail space, and we're only one of 50 states. Rent growth is outpacing national average, and 26% of the new U.S. retail construction has been in Florida since 2025. It's a landlord environment that's heavily supply constrained, and that means that if you can find a site that one of these big retailers want to be on, you can basically put that deal together and have a tremendous retail deal that can be de-risked. Now, the demand drivers are such. We all know that people continue to move to Florida. They're moving here. They're shopping here. The different population shifts are here in South Florida. A lot of high-end people. That drives restaurants. That drives high-end fashion out in Central Florida and West Central Florida and Southwest Florida, for that matter. The tenants are more big box oriented, value oriented, and that's what you're seeing go on there. Grocery retail anchored, necessity retail is still the most resilient sector, anchored by Publix and Walmart. Strong occupancy and strong investor demand. Neighborhood retail and strip centers are benefiting from the suburban growth and the limited new supply. And so this is creating incredible pricing power. You're seeing rents go to levels that people never thought they would see before. Traditional Malls are still under pressure in certain locations. Not every mall is the Aventura Mall or Dayland Mall. And small independent retailers are facing more and more competition from e-commerce, more and more difficulty in paying the increasing rents and insurance costs. And a number of these small tenants have begun to go out of business. They're being replaced by stronger national tenants. Sometimes the space is being combined to accommodate larger tenants. Here in South Florida, extremely tight vacancies, about 3.5%. You've got strong international demand with the wealth migration, and there's a very high barrier to new entry. A lot of the people that were involved in shopping center development when I got involved back in the 80s, well, they're out of business. The business has been consolidated to some major institutional players, and the well-located shopping centers having no problems. The centers that are not so well located, well, those are redevelopment opportunities. I was recently with a family office the other day that's looking to redevelop these strip centers. They're looking at large land parcels that have these retail properties on them, and they're building schools, apartments, and other public sector situation. Retail is now seen as a defensive CRE play, certainly compared to office, because these bring stable cash flow and they have inflation hedged rents. Miami is one of the top targets for retail investment. The capital's coming here in real estate, private equity. I'm working with lots of private equity that wants to be here. Institutional investors, just got off the phone with a very creative institutional investor who wants to do these large retail deals, REITs, and of course the institutional investors that are reallocating out of office and into retail. Retail used to be the ugly duckling. Retail is now the sexy play because you really can't get yields on industrial, office. Apartments are hard to build, and condos are still a very complex strategy that only the strongest developers can play in. Now, what are the headwinds? Interest rate and pricing gap. There's still a bid-ask discrepancy between buyers and sellers in most of these circumstances. There's a slowing transaction volume in some cases. Coastal markets still have the insurance problem, and this impacts the tenant affordability because these rents include insurance recovery, real estate taxes, and also common area. And this makes the cost of occupancy pretty high. As one friend recently said, you got to sell a lot of ice cream cones to pay today's rent. I would also add that you also have to sell a lot of donuts. The retail is evolving. You're seeing it shift to experiential retail and service-based tenants. This is I noticed the trend a long time ago where it became a bunch of state-oriented and government-oriented tenants in some of the poorer located retail centers. Now some of the best located retail space is being occupied by medical tenants. I walked past at least 3 different medical spas on my way to the Miami podcast studios today from where I live here on Biscayne Boulevard in South Florida. What's the near-term outlook? Short-term, stable, slightly rising in vacancy rates in certain locations, continued rent growth, but that'll be moderating somewhat, and there'll be very selective development. Not a lot of development. In fact, the power center that I've been working on has been under development for 3 years. Retail is still one of the top performing sectors in commercial real estate in Florida. Strongest sectors, grocery anchored, mixed use ground floor retail, and high growth suburban corridors where you can still redevelop these old strip centers, put on a little lipstick on the center and make it look great. This is going on up and down Biscayne Boulevard, north of downtown all day long. Florida is moving towards daily needs and experiential retail models, less fashion, more foods, more fitness, more healthcare, and stick with us. We'll be right back with your bottom line. After this, it's now time for Miami Podcast Studios to do their magic. Hey, everybody, I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive. They've been our sponsors for 15, 16, 17 years, I'm not sure. Going to be meeting with my good friend Larry Zinn up at his store on 151st and Biscayne, where they sell Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar, and Lincoln. We're going to be going to look at the new store, hear their new products, get his take on what's going on in the retail auto sales market. And I'm going to see his dad, Warren. I'm going to see his partner, Eric. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to learn all that I've forgotten, or I guess all that's really new. I haven't forgotten much. All that's really new in the auto business from Larry. We're going to talk about that. Maybe I'll be able to bring some of that with me on next week's show. And I want to tease next week's show right now. We're going to have Olivia Ramos on from Deep Blocks talking about AI, technology, and real estate. Make sure you stick with us just the way I stick with Warren Henry, because they treat me like family. My beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my clients and friends, we're all members of Warren Henry. And you should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
It's time for the last word. It's time for the last word and the big takeaway. And what is that? Well, that is that Florida's retail real estate market is the place to be. It's hard to de-risk one of these big condo projects, tough to get the apartment numbers to work. Industrial was a little bit oversupplied. Now that's pulling back a little bit. In office, well, spot by spot, it can be a little bit hard to find. Some office buildings are doing great. One client that's building an office building on South Beach, he's getting $225 a foot gross. Pretty stiff number. Never thought we'd see that. And other office buildings are going for less than the, it's really heartbreaking what they're going for. You guys have to give me a call. Reach out to me. Jim Freed, Sandstone Realty Advisors. You can find me. My numbers are down below. You can always reach out to me. You can always work with me. I've got great family office connections, great institutional connections. I basically act as a nexus between family offices, institutions, and developers to get their deals done. They always reach out to me. They always feel good because I am a legacy person here in South Florida. People know me. They pick up the phone because I've gone through the wars with them. And I've gone through the point where retail was a dirty word. Retail's now been washed through the washing machine and has now come out as the darling right now. It's supply constrained. It's demand driven by the population and continued tourism growth. And it's structurally shifting towards necessity and experiential retail and away from just convenience store. This is not a boom and bust story. This is something that's going to remain tight for some time. And I'm proud to be joint venturing with friends of mine that are developers in the retail space that know what they're doing, that have the tenant relationships, the owner and landowner relationships, and with me, the capital relationships to get things done. So reach out to me if I can help you get your real estate transaction done or your private equity deal. Give me a call, Jim Freed. You see my numbers, you see my email. Remember, the person wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Miami Podcast Studios. The rest of the show is yours.